Welcome to Sharing Our Cultures. This is the place where you get to meet amazing individuals from around the world who are making a difference in our communities. Joining us today is Foroogh Mohammadi, and she is a doctoral student in the Department of Sociology at Memorial University. Welcome back to Sharing Our Cultures. Joining me now is Foroogh Mohammadi, and she is a PhD candidate in the Department of Sociology at Memorial University. Welcome to Sharing Our Cultures, Foroogh.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to speaking with you.
Yes, thank you. I first of all want to start by congratulating you because I found out you had an award. You also received a scholarship. Tell us about that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your congrats. Yes, I recently received the SWAG award, which belongs to Senior Women of Academic Administration of Canada. And I received it because of the voluntary works and community work I was involved in during my studies. I also received ICER, or the Institute of Social and Economic Research Fellowship in support of my doctoral project. And yeah, I just came back from my fieldwork and I could continue my interviews so far, and it's almost finished. Okay. But yeah, these are the two scholarship and award that I recently received.
Well, congratulations, because the first award was a national award for Canada.
Yeah, thank you so
that's
much.
Great. It tells a lot about you and your work.
And
you. That's where I'm really fascinated about, because I think it's very timely and relevant, your research. So tell us what's your title and what your research is all about.
Sure. Thank you. My research is about the sense of belonging of Iranian immigrants to Canada and to home in Canada, actually. And my focus is on Iranian immigrants who are living in the Atlantic provinces, including Newfoundland. And I'm comparing those experiences with the ones who left the Atlantic provinces to Ontario. And I'm seeking why they have left, why the ones who chose to live here chose to stay here and continue living. And I'm trying to find out the process of their decision making, and to seek what contributes to their decisions to stay or leave the province and the Atlantic, in general.
Yes, and I'm curious as well, as I'm sure most people are, to find out so far, what have you learned from those that you've interviewed?
Yeah, for sure. I am in the preliminary stages of my studies, of my fieldwork actually, but and I will start analyzing soon the data, but so far I figured out the most important thing that can lead the immigrants to decide to leave, Iranian immigrants, is the scarcity of jobs and the lack of access to other provinces, like transportations, the cost of transportation that is a little bit higher than other provinces to get access to the mainland and everything. So, but the most important one is job security. So immigrants are trying to find a way to establish a life. I figured out that they are very happy of staying in Newfoundland, and they love Newfoundland even after living here. And they say a piece of our home is Newfoundland, in a puzzle of the meaning of home to us. One piece is specifically Newfoundland, but there should be some basic things that can connect them to the land, so or to the place that they are living at. So one of the most important ones is the job, that international students usually have difficulties to find a relevant job after their education in Newfoundland, and sometimes they decide to leave here. And this was one of the most important things. But in terms of a sense of belonging, it was very interesting to me to see how they feel connected with people, with culture to Newfoundland. And yeah, even after leaving here, they are still, thinking about that and memorizing those good memories of living here. And they are very, talking in a very good way about Newfoundland. So yeah, this is the most important thing, job security. But after that, having access to other provinces, the transportation costs is usually a theme that came up in the interviews. Yeah, these are the two main things. There are a lot of other things that were included in my study, but if we are thinking about retaining immigrants in Atlantic provinces, including Newfoundland, job is the first and the most important thing, I guess, so far.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard about that myself just by being in the
Yeah,
community. That
exactly.
the people love the place, but they just
Exactly.
say, if only I can find work here, I'll stay here.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're from Iran.
Yes.
And what motivated you to come all the way from Iran to study here at Memorial?
Yeah, for sure. So I left my hometown when I was studying for my master's. So I went to Tehran, and in that city, my spouse and I got involved in a project that we were working about some cities and the meaning of home around those areas, and we figured out that there are some internal immigrants in Iran who have been displaced to a new place, and then they created a very strong sense of belonging to that place, that new place, and they were feeling so much integrated with the culture and everything. So I became curious to understand how immigrants can create a sense of belonging with such a huge change. So it was a question in my mind, and then I was developing my other aspects of studies, and I contacted one of professors that I'm right now working with, Dr. Vanden Scott, and she was one of the most relevant professors that I could imagine working with. So I contacted her, and she was willing to work with me. And after that, I searched, okay, where is Newfoundland? And in the map, I can remember, oh my gosh, it's in Canada, but it's very, it's a special place, and so I figured out it's a beautiful city and everything, and I learned about Newfoundland in that point. So then my spouse and I decided to come here, and we both applied, we got admission, and we are now working with our supervisor, Dr. Vanden Scott. And this is the reason we came here, actually, her. Yeah. And her expertise in that field that we are working in, sociology of space and place.
All right, sociology of space and place.
Yes.
Okay, that's very interesting. So when you arrived, I mean, after you looked up everything about Newfoundland and you figure how far away it is, and what were your expectations when you came? Were those expectations fulfilled? Like, was it what you thought it was going to be like?
Sure. So it was in 2018. We landed here, and we were expecting the beauty that we saw, the beauty of the city, and then we were warned very seriously about the weather. So when we came here, in the first winter, we were like, oh my God, this is such a mild winter, this is amazing, and we were fine. So winter was not an issue at all, because we were expecting so much, worse in terms of cold weather. But it was great, and the warmth of the people was the most important aspect that welcomed us and treated us like our home. So we are so happy. And yeah, and the beauty of the Newfoundland, the beauty of nature, and the most important thing, which is the warmth of people and welcoming us as immigrants. That was the most important aspect. And yeah, during and since then, you know, the pandemic hit the world, but we got the chance to explore other cities as well, and it makes us even more connected to Newfoundland.
Well, that's amazing, and I know many people talk about the warmth of the place. I mean, not the physical temperature.
Yeah,
not the
but the heart.
That's right, the warmth of the place and the fact that they feel welcome. So what do you think creates that sense of belonging for people when they come here?
Yes, sure. I think one thing that you will figure out as an immigrant when you leave Newfoundland is how people try to welcome you, how even a simple smile can change your day, so that you cannot usually get in bigger cities. Because it's a different lifestyle and everything, you know. So even these small things can connect you to the place. And other than that, the city is beautiful. The city is a little, maybe in comparison with metropolitans, it's a little smaller, but it creates this opportunity for you to have more time to spend with your friends, to spend less time in transportation and everything, you know. So that usually impacts that sense of, because you have time to spend with the ones you like, and yeah, in that sense of warmth that you get from people, local people, is amazing. And you can't usually have that feeling in busier cities. So that is really important. That I think Newfoundland is unique in that term. And it can create a big opportunity for you to connect to the land. But you know, as I said, you as an immigrant, you want some stability in your life, and the job is really sometimes an issue, that if you can't find a secure job, you feel unstable. And people usually leave the province despite their will, because they want to stay. They really usually want to stay, but sometimes life gets difficult and they decide to leave. Yeah, but yeah, this is what I got from my feelings about living here, and yeah, I feel I belong here.
Okay.
And especially in terms of that puzzle of home, definitely a big puzzle can be St. John's. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Sharing Our Cultures will be right back, and we want to find out more about what it is like for the Iranian community here in Newfoundland, Labrador. And we're going to continue our conversation with Foroogh and find out more about the Iranian community here in Newfoundland, Labrador. So I'd really like to continue our conversation then.
Sure.
It was very difficult to sort of hold it for a moment, but you've been doing well, and I'm so happy when you said that you've felt that sense of belonging here, right? So tell us a little bit about the Iranian community here in the province. Yeah.
Sure. So Iranian community in Newfoundland, so far, I heard that they are about 500 people, something like that. And most of them are international students. We have some people who have been here for years, 20 years, 40 years. But most of them are international students. And it's become a very popular place for Iranian international students, actually. Because when the city gives you that feeling of warmth, you can exchange it. And even Newfoundland, Iranian community in Newfoundland are famous for that feeling of warmth and that sense of support, which is really interesting. Yeah, this is about Iranian community. Most of them are international graduate students. We have some undergraduate students recently that they are coming here and settling here. There are some ceremonies that we usually celebrate, including Nowruz, the beginning of the spring or the first moment of spring in our culture that we celebrate as our New Year, as the beginning of our New Year. And we usually have a venue, invite people and have them for that ceremony, including dancing and reading poems and food, which is a really important element of Iranian culture. So sharing food and everything. And I think there is a considerable amount of Iranian who contribute in those events like Charsham Suri or Yalda Night or Nowruz that had been a little slowed down because of COVID, but hopefully we are getting back to normal. Okay. So yeah, this is about the Iranian community, and one thing that is really interesting is that most of Iranian community that I see and observe are from engineering department. And there are some students like myself from social sciences and humanities or medical sciences as well, but most of them are in engineering department. Sometimes they say, oh my gosh, my English is getting worse since I came here because there are a lot of Iranians at the department, and it's so funny. Yeah, but yeah, and usually I can see that Iranians can make a very good relationship with the locals, with people from different cultures, and I can see that warmth create, and gets recreated and reproduced when people came here and resettle here. They internalize those beauties of culture, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's true, because I've seen that around as well.
Yeah.
Now, when the Iranian community, or when Iranians come here, how are they able to get the kinds of foods that they might be familiar with from back home? Is that easily available, and how do they make those kinds of connections?
Yeah, for sure. So there was not Iranian store or restaurant until recently that you may heard about. One Persian restaurant has been opened. So that is really good. But other than that, there's no Persian store specifically. There are some Arabic stores. We share some things, and they bring some ingredients, Iranian ingredients from other parts of Canada or from Iran, which is really good and heartwarming, but it didn't exist until, I can say, for example, 5 years ago. It was so much different, I can say. But this can really impact your sense of home, because specifically at the beginning of your resettlement, you seek some similarities, some things that are familiar to you, to be able to deal with all those new things that you encounter. So I can say that is not a very essential thing, but that helps a lot mentally and physically. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, this is in terms of the food. And I can see that should be getting better because the Iranian community is getting bigger. They are demanding things, and the stores are trying to comply with those demands. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's great. You mentioned a number of graduates in the engineering faculty. What do you think the government can do to keep those graduates here after they've completed their study?
Yes, for sure. Well, as I explained, job is the first and most important thing. I'm sorry to repeating it, but it's just the fact that I observed. And people, as I said, like to stay here, but they should have a sense of stability to be able to continue their life. So I think something that government can think of includes how some programs can connect educated and graduate students who have been graduated, connect them to the industry or the other institutions that can provide jobs, relevant jobs to the education of the people. That is really important. Some connectors between those two different sectors, university and job sectors, including everything.
That's right.
So yes, I think that really can help graduate students to at least become hopeful that something is available in case they want to stay. They can refer to and they can ask for help and their assistance in this regard. This is really, I think, important. Other things are really fundamental. You know, it relates to the economy of the province, and there are definitely things that can be done to improve the situation, economic situation, that are really big, huge things. But maybe other than that, for example, the tourism industry, I think that is really, that can get more attention and involve more graduates and use their expertise to expand that industry, which is relevant to the culture, which can be environmental friendly, which can be inclusive for other cultures and everything. So I think that really helps. I am, as I said, still analyzing specifically, right. Yes, from a sociological perspective, but the more understanding will come out once I get more into details. And this is what I so far figured out.
Yeah. And what was your reason, I guess, for wanting this to find out? Because this is very important to the provincial government, because they want immigrants or international graduates to actually stay here. They're doing a lot of, strategic work and planning around that.
Yes, for sure. So I observed some things in my own life as well as other people around myself. Even other international students from non-Iranian culture. So I saw that the bureaucratic process of, for example, renewing study permits, getting permanent residency, these things sometimes are very difficult for international students who really want to settle here. And we see that, for example, the government try to retain immigrants in their provinces, in Canada in general. But when it comes to the bureaucratic system, you see there is a little inconsistency between these two. And it's usually time-consuming, very prolonged processes that motivates students to think, okay, this can't be an option anymore. I should figure something else or something different. So these things sparked the curiosity in my mind to think more and deeper into details about, okay, people like to stay here, but then after a while they choose not to stay. What is happening in this between? And this inspired me to think more and see, okay, sense of belonging is definitely important, but what contributes to that? And what can strengthen that? And what is weakening that? That is important too, that we should be aware of. Otherwise, we can't just think about strengthening it without knowing what is weakening this,
Yes.
right? So yeah, this is what I try to focus on, and then I try to limit the scope of my study to Newfoundland and Atlantic provinces, because I saw similarities between Newfoundland and other Atlantic provinces who suffer from depopulation and other similar issues. And after entering the field, I saw, yeah, and I observed, yes, that's true. There are very similarities between these four provinces: Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. I saw that immigrants tend to leave those provinces as well, and I was sure, so there are some things going on that I try to touch in this conversation.
Yes, well, we certainly appreciate that, and I think we're going to have a conversation again after,
Sure.
because these are just your emerging data, but we're going to find out final report when you've completed your program. We'll see what's happened, because you've gone all the way to Ontario to interview
Yes.
some of the Iranians who have left here
Exactly.
and are living there. So that would be a very comprehensive research data that the government can really benefit from.
Thank you
So
very
we
much.
thank you so much for all the work
course.
that you're doing and
you.
for staying here with us as well.
Of course.
Hopefully we can keep you here. And your spouse is here as well.
Exactly. We would love to stay here.
Yes, yeah. So
Thank you.
we look forward to you staying. And of course, as you said, the number one would be being able to get a job. So, but I don't doubt we wouldn't find you something. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me
you.
in conversation today.
Thank
It's
you so
really been a
much.
pleasure having you here.
It was all the pleasure was mine, and I am so glad that we had the chance to talk about these things, and hopefully this can contribute to our understanding of what we can do for the province. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with you and this program.
Okay, then.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sharing Our Cultures will be right back. Thanks to Foroogh Mohammadi and to you for watching. Join us next time on Sharing Our Cultures to meet remarkable individuals who are making a difference in our communities.